Gentleness, of course, very similar to meekness. Am I going to be gentle with people? Gentleness, patience, faithful, kind, all those kind of things. Not necessarily synonyms, but ways in which we should be thinking about, what are the things that I demonstrate in my life are characteristics that are most important? What are the characteristics, the character traits that I have in my life where people say that person values these kind of things because I see it in their life? Patience is really important to that person because they are some of, or that's somebody who's really, really patient with people. Self-control. We should value, and of course, self-control is very, very personal focus here. Right? We should encourage people to be self-controlled, but ultimately, we have to be self-controlled. So, what do we value? What do we truly value? Do we truly value in our lives the self-control that the Spirit produces, or do we really want self-gratification, indulgence, and all sorts of other things that we can think of, that aren't those kind of values? So we looked at the Sermon on the Mount, looked at the fruit of the Spirit. Another section where we get several of these values would be Romans 12 and 13. Romans 12, of course, starts off with presenting our bodies as living sacrifices. Do we value sacrificial living? Right? Do we truly are we truly sacrificing our lives to God? Are we truly becoming sacrifices for God? Or are we indulging ourselves? Right? Do we present our bodies as living sacrifices? Do we truly value making sacrifices for God? Do we truly value thinking of others first, being other-centered? Right? So I sacrifice myself so that I can serve others. Right? Because, going back to the spiritual gifts, because this is where this comes up in Romans 12, is that the gifts God has given me is not for my benefit, it's for the benefit of others. So I may have a gift of being able to speak in such a way to persuade others. I'm a very persuasive person. I can construct an argument, or I can lay out a situation in such a way that I can convince others. Now, what am I going to use that for? I'm going to use that in such a way that it benefits me, and so I convince other people to give me a lot of money, right? Buy my product, or come to my self-help retreat. Or am I going to use that to persuade people to follow Christ? Do I think of their benefit first? Right? If I have the gift of compassion, am I exhibiting that gift so that others can feel comforted, or am I doing that so people will think, oh, he's such a compassionate person, oh, such a loving person? When situations arise, who do I think of first? Do I think of myself first, or do I think of ways to help others? And so, the values Christ asks of us, or the things that Christ tells us are valuable, truly valuable in this world, is loving our neighbors as ourselves. Now, yes, of course, we have to take care of ourselves. And we don't want to not take care of our bodies, not take care of our health. Certainly, yeah, that within reason, but of course we don't want to overindulge that, right? I need clothing, but I don't need the most expensive clothing, right? So I get by with what I need, and then I use my resources for other people, right? Again, it's the process. I'm not saying I do that perfectly, but that's the goal, right? That should be something I'm striving toward, allowing God to mold me into that type of person. I need to look for how I can live at peace. There's plenty of people that'll stir up trouble, but Christians are called to live at peace. Right? Live at peace with everyone as much as it is possible within us. We're not going to be at peace with everyone. There are plenty of people in this world that no matter what you do, they are just not going to be your friend. Or they're always going to find a reason to have a conflict with you. But from our standpoint, what do we value? Do we value a peaceful life, or do we just, oh, you know what, I just love stirring people up, or I just love, posting something just to get people riled up, so that people are just fighting at each other, do you like being a troll? If you like being a troll, you're not living at peace. That's an area of your life you need to repent in, because that's not a Christian value. But we're supposed to live at peace. We're supposed to respect authority. That doesn't mean that we necessarily condone everything authority does. That doesn't mean that sometimes we don't stand up for God against authority. We ought to obey God rather than human beings. But ultimately, we should respect the authority that is above us, even when we disagree. We are to live at peace. So, we have to find that balance sometimes. And sometimes we need to speak up. Sometimes we need to sit down. And so, thinking of others first, sacrificial living, letting the Spirit dwell in us, putting the Word in us, having a lot of those other values, all that's going to help us. But ultimately, we need to offer our respect to authority figures in our lives. Governmental figures, bosses, elders in the church, right? There's all sorts of authority figures that we have in our lives. We need to respect them. Are they wrong? Are they human? Do they make mistakes? Absolutely. Do we need to sometimes speak out when they are unjust? Absolutely. But in doing so, we still need to show respect for authority, right? I respect you as a governmental figure, as a leader in our community, in our state, in our nation. However, I believe that what you have done in this situation is inappropriate, and I would request that you would reconsider what you have done, XYZ. Right? So there, still a way to stand up to authority. Again, when authority is unjust, we need to speak out. When authority doesn't act righteously, we need to speak out. But we need to do so in a way that recognizes God brings authorities into our lives. And so we have to find that balance, right? Not to condone or overlook unrighteousness, but to still show that ultimately we respect God for the way God arranges the world around us. Other values that we can find in a variety of places, Ephesians 4, for example, might be a good place to find some of these, like humility and being humble. We touched on this when we talked about love. The one that exalts himself is going to be humbled. The one who humbles himself is going to be exalted, Jesus says. But we need to recognize who we are and be humble in that. Pride and arrogance are not Christian values. They are elements in our lives that prop up, that are very easy to fall prey to. They are not Christian values. We need to work against them. We need to allow God to take them out of our lives. We need to work towards humility. Because if we don't, God is going to humble us for our good. All right. So we need to be aware of that. Truthfulness. Oof. God values truthfulness. We should value truthfulness. I don't know. Does that allow for, thinking about as a parent, when I talk to my daughter about certain things, I might leave some things out because I don't think that she is ready, or that I don't want her exposed to certain things at a particular point. Right? So when I tell her, about certain things that she hears a news report, let's say, about, or she hears somebody talking about something that a governmental official has done. Let's say some sort of sexual harassment. Right? And so she asks me about this. Is it truthful to try and frame it in such a way where she can understand, yet also keep her innocent of some elements of reality? Now, we're talking about truthfulness. That's the focus we have now. I have not explained everything. Is that still truthful? I think that it is, but I'm willing to be corrected on that. But of course, we live in a culture and we live in a society where we have accepted at times that not telling all of the truth or telling tiny quote-unquote lies are actually better for relationships. So if a spouse or a loved one asks how they look in a certain way, we might feel that massaging the truth or adjusting the truth or telling a certain part of the truth is okay. And it's actually better for the relationship than telling the truth. Right? So we develop these things of like massaging the truth. We talk about the little lies. Nobody really gets hurt. It's just a little quote-unquote white lie, which, we think is okay. But we are to speak the truth to one another, not just the truth about Christ. Right? We should be telling people the truth. Right? There is only one way to Christ, but we should be truthful people. Again, we are broken, we are fallen, we are in the process of being redeemed. So we fail at this. But are we people that value truth and not falsehood? Are we people that endeavor to be positive in our speech? Now, that doesn't mean having an attitude of never telling anybody something negative. Right? Sometimes people need to hear negative things. There are some people that need to hear right? Your behavior is destroying this family, or your behavior is damaging our relationship, or that course of action is going to lead to, right, such and such. Or you're lying to yourself. So sometimes people need to hear some negative things. But positive speech in this way is talking about building people up. Let it be wholesome, is what Ephesians 4:29 says. Right? So in how we talk to people, we should be talking to people, even when we're saying negative things, to help them, to build them up, not to tear them down. Right? I'm not telling you this. I'm not telling you about your destructive behavior to make you feel bad about yourself. I'm telling you about your destructive behavior so you can change. Right? And so the speech that comes out of our mouth needs to be not good, fluffy, sunny all the time, but it needs to be speech that is meant, that is wholesome, first of all. We shouldn't be saying unwholesome things, but are about building people up, about for the benefit of others. Is what I'm saying beneficial to others? Right? So, that would exclude things like gossip, lying, tearing people down, cursing, all sorts of other things that we could say are not positive. They're not wholesome. To tell people those kind of things, to say those kind of things, to talk about those kind of subjects in that way. But our speech is to be something better, something different. We have enough of that garbage in the world. Christians are called to be different. And we should uphold values of, these are the kind of things I say, things that are better for somebody else. Even if it's a hard truth they need to hear. Right? Even if it's calling them to account, even if it's telling them you're on the wrong path, I do it for their good, not so, I guess I told him, or I feel a whole lot better. I got all that off my shoulder, or off my chest. Right? That's not what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about others' focus. We're to value compassion. Feeling with someone, extending love, grace, mercy, positively telling them about God's comfort, right? There are all sorts of different ways we can show compassion. But we need to be compassionate people, people that are concerned about others, people that want to help others, people that suffer with others who suffer. These are the kind of characteristics we need to demonstrate in our lives. These are the kind of values that we are to have. And so as we think about engaging our world, these are the characteristics God wants us to have. Right? As we live for Christ, as we love people, as we serve people, as we share Christ, these are the characteristics, the character traits we need to be demonstrating in our lives. Because the world has plenty of that other stuff. And there are plenty of people who can do all the opposite of all these other things. But if we're going to be a radical witness in a wasteland, philosophical wasteland, a theological wasteland, these are the kind of things we need to be and the kind of people we need to be.